Hey guys, how's it going? Main Mark Murph back here with another episode of No Holds Barred, episode 15. But today, I'm actually joined by a special guest. I usually do this YouTube live style, but that was being weird, so we're just doing a Skype call like I did with Alex last year for our football podcast. But for right now, I'm going to bring in one half of the Wrestling Radar. I couldn't get the full duo, so I could only get Ryan. Nick was really hard to book. His manager's being a pain in my ass. But anyway, guys, here's Ryan. And Ryan, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, Griff, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
And
Happy to be here.
Yeah, no problem. Always like to bring in new people for the show and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
A bit of an echo I'm hearing, so I'm just going to try to fix that up. But anyway, guys, we're going to talk about anything. Ryan's fresh off his AEW trip to Chicago. Am I still allowed to say that even though it was a couple weeks ago? Still fresh?
Yeah, no, it's still fresh, man. I'm still, reminiscent about the good times, just like I am for Toronto, so that's still pretty fresh, too.
Yeah, exactly. Toronto was only like a month ago, but even like I look at my chair right to my right and I just like see things like, yeah, and even to when I'm downtown and stuff, it's like, yeah, you kind of think, wait, actually, let me rephrase that. About a few days after the trip ended, I went to a Jays game. I won tickets to work, luckily, and I drive by Scotiabank Arena and like all the signs are down and everything, and I'm like, 4 days ago, I was here with a bunch of wrestlers. Well, not a bunch, it was SmackDown, but like 5 days ago for Raw when there was a lot more people there. There was all these like SummerSlam banners up, and then all of a sudden it was like all these Toronto stuff and all the Raptors stuff was like back up because the one SummerSlam sign outside of the arena was a Raptors championship thing, which was brought back up. So I'm just like, man, these cities just change quick from like wrestling to wrestling. Like how I remember you saying in New Orleans the Tuesday after SmackDown, you guys went to Bourbon Street, and the guys basically were saying like, wrestling fans are gone, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. All the wrestling fans were gone at that point. It's kind of like back to reality, like right away, like instantly.
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
Yeah, like even though with me with that SmackDown, like I didn't film at all for that episode, but I just remember even that Tuesday too leading up to the show just felt like me going to a show like when they're in your town for one night only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also I ended up getting my tickets at like you guys at 3 o'clock that day. I bought mine for $60 and I had amazing seats for the show. So now I know a SmackDown, always wait.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty much what we did for Raw that night too. I think we spent like 60. I think it was $80 actually, but yeah, we had amazing seats. So.
Yeah, you bought them with my phone at warehouse.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was perfect. Worked out great. I'm glad we stayed too because it was a pretty fun Raw.
Yeah, that's the one thing I have to say. Even though, like, honestly, SmackDown was probably half of the lower bowl filled, and then only a few sections up top. The crowd that night actually for SmackDown was really boisterous in the crowd because even I was saying to TJ how it's mostly the big marks that stay for that show. Yeah, but even with Raw too, like, and even SummerSlam, there wasn't a bad show. I'm not saying NXT because obviously that NXT show was really good. I don't know.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. As for a complete card though, I still think I'd give 25 the award for probably best show of the year so far. If I had to rank them, I'd probably say 25, then Toronto for me, just because obviously I was there. And then weirdly enough, I didn't watch New York live too, so I was the other benefactor for that. And then I'd say Phoenix, but with NXT you can't really rank them; they're just so good. And into that segue, yeah, with them and their million new shirts now, just check WWE shop. Tomorrow night's the big premiere for them.
Yeah, tomorrow night it's a stacked card. First hour's on USA, and I think the second hour's on the WWE Network. But yeah, what you just said about those NXT shirts, oh my lord, man, how does that guy have a job? Whoever designed those.
You know what? The thing I feel with all those NXT shirts is, hey, we got a bunch of new stars. We got to market them. Like, even though it's just simple designs and stuff, like, who knows? Someone who a WWE NXT fan may not know who a guy like, say, let's just say Austin Theory or Cameron Grimes or Jordan Miles or Swerve Scott, even though I want to call him Shane Strickland. They may not know who they are like you and I do, especially you guys because of how close you follow the indies. But then you're going to get this WWE fan being like, hey, I really like this guy. They have, like, great moves. They're a great in-ring performer. So just this shirt's kind of like a catapult. Like, not everybody's first shirt's the most memorable one as, oh my God, this beat down.
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. I definitely understand why they came out with all these shirts, but it's just like they could have put a little bit more effort into some of them. I mean, Chelsea Green, I know you're a big fan of her too. I'm a huge fan. Her shirt is probably the ugliest one out of all of them. Like, it's just atrocious.
If you go back and watch my video, because Lorenzo's got me some birthday gifts last year off Pro Wrestling Tees, they bought me 2 of her shirts. Those shirts are so much better. It's like Chelsea Green. It's got like her wearing the sunglasses and like the hot mess gimmick. I'm like, I'll prefer that shirt over this one. It's just a C in her, and then Deanna's D. The only one I liked was Austin Theories, but my favorite is the Velveteen Dreams one.
Yeah, that one's cool. That one's very cool. So it's just like mind-boggling. It's like they put so much effort into that one to make that one look sick, and that doesn't look anything like the other ones do. Like, it's just weird. But I guess because Velveteen Dreams obviously a huge star, so it's he already has other shirts too. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, their first shirts never really are the most memorable. So there will be others, and hopefully better designs in the future. Because I would buy a Chelsea Green shirt. I'm just not buying that one.
Yeah, same with me. But also, too, with the whole NXT thing, I gotta wonder how it's being affected. Because, like, we see, I don't know if you're going to Houston or not. I probably am not. Yeah. But they're doing the whole Worlds Collide show, and apparently they're going to start doing, I think they want to start doing less takeovers with travel, like, and then do more at Full Sail, which has its pros and cons. I understand why they want to do it, but at the same time, too, I feel like you got to, if you want, especially if you're going to have NXT potentially going up against AEW, whatever the show is going to be called on TNT, wouldn't you want your takeovers to be in big buildings? Because with AEW, they're not going to go, like, they're going small buildings for TV, except for their opening night in a couple weeks on in DC. But, like, they're not doing a small building for Baltimore. They're doing an arena where WWE does go whenever they go to Baltimore. So you got to figure with NXT, you can't just do Full Sail for all your takeovers. You should keep them with the big four shows.
Yeah, I think it's a big mistake taking those off of the big four, because it also adds to the weekend too. Everybody comes to like see NXT, the big pay-per-view, whatever it is, and then even Raw and SmackDown now. Well, for Houston, it's in the same state. It's just not in the same city. So I don't really like how they're shifting it now. I don't know. I hope NXT is not lining up their takeovers the same nights as AEW is doing their pay-per-views. I think that'd be just a nightmare, an absolute disaster. You can't really. How could you book a show week to week or month to month and just wait for like AEW's schedule to come out? What if AEW doesn't announce their whole pay-per-view schedule right away? Like, what's NXT gonna do? Hold back and wait until they do? Like, to me, that just seems that's kind of embarrassing, and that would ruin NXT. So I don't know. The new schedule is supposed to come out soon. They want to make takeovers their own thing. So, yeah, I really don't know what they're going to do, what buildings they're going to run, or doing it in Full Sail, like you said, big mistake. How could they go back to doing them in Full Sail when they've been selling out places like Barclays Center, Scotiabank, all these big arenas? How could they go back to Full Sail for, maybe for a live special, but not big takeovers, man? That would be such a disappointment.
One thing I wouldn't mind if they did was if they did similar to what they did for TakeOver 25, where you do it in an arena like, I don't know what the arena in Bridgeport is. I think it's like named Harbor Yard or something. Where you do. You were there. You should know.
Yeah, I should know. Man, I forgot what it was called.
The
name will come.
Yeah, but
Webster Bank Arena. There you go.
There we go. Webster Bank Arena. If they do it like that, where you do it on their own, but do it in small arenas like that, you're going to have the effect where they don't have to worry about selling out a takeover, because even with a lot of the takeovers, like I know Toronto wasn't, I don't think Toronto was fully sold out, but it was like 80% sold out. So if you're running smaller buildings where instead of having to sell 15,000 tickets, you're only selling 8,000 to 10,000 tickets, it'll be good for NXT. Because even I noticed with, it's Full Gear, the one in Baltimore, right?
Right, yeah.
Like even I noticed Full Gear hasn't sold out like a All Out or a Double or Nothing did, where it was like All Out sold out in like, I don't know what it was, like probably half an hour, I think it was like 10 minutes to half an hour.
Yeah, it was very quick.
Yeah, but then I gotta wonder why an event like Full Gear, I guess, does that pretty much. I gotta wonder with Full Gear in Baltimore, do you think that's a city thing, or do you think that's more of a just overall, like when I say city, because like obviously Chicago's a hot crowd. Like I think if Full Gear was at MSG, or actually I don't know if they would do MSG right away, just because obviously with the how much it costs to run there, and you saw how absurd Raw tickets and SmackDown tickets were going for last week. Even though you got a chair, who's still paying $300 to sit on the floor for a Raw?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not.
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's a really good question, because the Full Gear card looks really good so far. They only have 2 matches announced, but one of them is Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, which was a huge selling point for All Out. Before Moxley got pulled, obviously. So yeah, I don't know if it's a city thing or not, but Baltimore's a pretty big wrestling city, so I'm not really, sure. They did announce StarCast, so they're making it into a big weekend like, Double or Nothing and All Out. So yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. It's a really good question. I'm glad it didn't sell out all the way, because I didn't get my ticket yet, so I'm waiting on it. Money's a little tight right now ever since I got back from Chicago, but yeah, I don't know. It's it was going to slow down eventually. I think maybe the buzz, after Double or Nothing and after All Out just is fading. I don't really know why, but yeah, it's a really good question. I really don't know.
Yeah. With All Out, like obviously, I've never been. I didn't go 2018, and I didn't go this year. But just seeing the vlogs between, I saw yours, I saw Luke's, I saw Ravi's, and I saw Pico's video as well. More about those trips. What I was noticing too, how it's not even about the wrestling trips; it's about like the friendships, like and just hanging out with the guys. I think that was the more FOMO, or I actually don't have FOSM. You have to know Ryan to know what that means. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about Chicago, though, is for next year, because obviously I heard about Tony Khan wanting to do it yearly in Chicago every Labor Day weekend. Do you think they should stick at Sears, or do you think maybe they should try going for United Center next year? Because I think they could sell the United Center no problem. And I would say Allstate, by the way, but I'm pretty sure WWE would try to block that.
Yeah, I'd stay away from Allstate. United Center is perfect. Yeah, I think they should. I mean, like you said, they definitely can. So it's not a matter of if they can do it. It's just a matter of if they want to do it. I know the Sears Center means a lot to them. It's obviously where they ran all in. They have a plaque outside of the Sears Center, too, with the Young Bucks and Cody's face on it to commemorate that night and how special it was. They're going back there the night before Thanksgiving for the TV show on TNT this year. So I don't know. It's gonna come down to if they want to stay loyal to the Sears Center, or if they want to venture off to the United Center. That would also mean too, like bringing StarCast somewhere else too, because they've always had it at the same place at the Hyatt Regency, and it works out perfectly. So I don't really know. I think they should. I think they might go for it because with All Out, how quick it sold out. Obviously United Center is a little bit bigger. I don't think it would hurt to go for it, and like you said, if they could do it, I could definitely see it.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to look up quickly how much the United Center holds, the home of the Chicago Blackhawks and the home of the
Exactly.
the Blackhawks and the Bulls. Because I know it's a bigger crowd for that. There we go. For basketball, they're 20,917, and in concerts it says it's up to 23,000. So,
okay.
If they went ahead and did that, then good on them, honestly. But I think the one thing I was thinking about it too just now while you were answering that is Sears Center does hold a special place in the arena. I feel like with if you want to switch from Sears to I was about to say Allstate. I'm just so used to WWE and Allstate.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to go to the United Center, I feel like they should wait to see how their 2020 starts out before they make that decision. Just because, like, if they stay where they are now, where they're kind of like they're another company, which I want to get to see you in a bit, but I don't think that there's really a need for a war now. It's not like WCW and WWE. I feel like it's just, hey, wrestling fans are just getting more content that they can enjoy. Kind of like how most people aren't going to see. No one saw the AF, and I don't think anybody's seen the XFL really as a rivalry to the NFL football. It's just, hey, here's more of something you guys already love.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. They shouldn't rush into anything. We know it's going to be in Chicago, but obviously don't announce anything anytime soon. There's really no needs, really no rush. And, they could probably hold off until Memorial Day weekend if they do another show Memorial Day in Vegas. I don't know if they're going to be doing Vegas every year like they've been doing Chicago. But again, they could wait until then, and I think tickets to see everyone on sale for All Out in June to see how the 2020 goes, and make a decision from there.
Yeah, but even too, the one thing I was thinking about too, also because I was hearing a lot of people say how WWE could not sell at Madison Square Garden, because I know they sold about, I think 90% of it. It was pretty sold out Monday night. Tuesday night, I don't know, but I don't know if they should shoot from would they shoot from Madison Square Garden right away, because you have a lot of other options. I gotta wonder if they were to run New York, do you think they would venture out and do maybe Jersey or even your neck of the woods out of the Coliseum there? Because I doubt that they could do Barclays, but the same thing too. I feel like it's like Allstate's relationship with WWE. I feel like Barclays is a good relationship with WWE where they don't want anybody in there, but at the same time too, I feel like AEW. I was about to say they could run that facility where AAA ran inside the Garden, the theater there, but I feel like that's too small for what they want to do.
Oh, very, yeah. Way too small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny? I met the Young Bucks All Out weekend at the Pro Wrestling Tee store, and I asked them when they were going to come to New York, and Nick laughed and goes, I'll tell you something. We actually had a show booked for the Garden. He said, but somebody ruined that for us. and he just laughed, and Matt laughed too. And obviously, I took that as Vince, ruined that for them. I don't know how that happened. I don't know, what show they were planning on running, but they obviously had an idea to run the Garden. They can easily sell out the Garden. I know that they can. But yeah, I mean, there's really not many options besides, the Coliseum, Barclays, which, like you said, they probably won't do because that's WWE's new home. Never mind the Garden. Barclays is their new home. They have a great relationship. So yeah, it's either the Garden or the Coliseum. I really don't. There's no other really arena that I could see them running.
Just hang on for a second. Guys, sorry if there's he's sounding
big enough, really.
Yeah. I meant to say that just because for some reason Ryan's the connection. I don't know what's going on, but it is kind of laggy. I think I'm just getting a thing right now. Poor network connection. I don't know if that's on your end or my end, but if there is any lag like that in the audio, it's just because the Skype call is a bit on a bit of a lag. But yeah, I just wanted to apologize for that. But to add to your point too, I feel like Madison Square Garden, even though it is renovated and new, I feel like for WWE it's kind of like, I was going to say a Yankee Stadium reference, but for our sake, because you or I do not like the team, we'll say that Madison Square Garden is kind of like the Shea Stadium. Meanwhile, Barclays is like Citi Field. Barclays is this new shiny toy. Even though MSG's gone under major renovations, they're just always, I think they're going to stick to Barclays more often than not. And also, too, I feel like the only reason they went back to the Garden for those shows was probably because of ROH New Japan Mania weekend.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That show really set the tone for WWE going back there. It'll be interesting to see now if they run the Garden on a more consistent basis because, they made a big deal out of those two shows last week. And like you said, for the most part, I mean, I guess they weren't sold out completely, but for the most part, it was pretty packed. I mean, everybody was there. Not many WWE shows sell out nowadays, there's always tickets available on there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, the New Japan Ring of Honor show set the tone and is the only reason why WWE ran the Garden for those two shows. Because, like I said, they're just going to stick to Barclays. I don't see them running pay-per-views or anything at the Garden because at the end of the day, it's still pretty expensive to run shows there. And expensive for WWE to run a show there. This huge company that has all the money in the world, it seems. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward regarding the Garden.
Yeah, but I can see them doing the one thing I was just about to suggest, if they really wanted to, run an NXT takeover there, because I feel like if you got a hot enough card, that would sell. But I think if it was NXT, or I was just thinking about it, maybe Survivor Series next year if they wanted to do that, because I think the Garden and War Games alone could probably sell out, plus an event like Survivor Series 2. Just
yeah.
Food for thought.
Dude, I would love that, dude. Yeah, if Survivor Series came to the Garden next year with War Games, oh my god, I'd be so hyped because I've always wanted to see the War Games. But I mean, now if takeovers aren't a part of those big weekends, again, that ruins everything. So it's like they really have to think about what they're doing and if it's a good idea, because especially for WrestleMania weekend too, like you can't not have takeover be a part of WrestleMania weekend. Like you just can't.
No, I think that they're going to keep it Mania weekend. I just think maybe like the Rumble or... Well, and also, too, they already announced that SummerSlam, I know for when it's in Boston next year, they already announced that they are running TakeOver. I don't think they're going to go back on their word with that. The one weird thing I noticed with SummerSlam next year is that they didn't announce a meet and greet, and apparently there's people saying that this year's was not a success. Like, I know the Arizona one wasn't money-wise. The one in Toronto, it had its pros and cons. I haven't really talked much about the trip. Like, Hassan had his shitty experience with Orton just because it took forever, which then backlogged Ravi and I, meaning Daniel Bryan. But besides that, like, the way they ran the SummerSlam meet and greets here was, honestly, I had no problems with it besides that whole Orton kerfuffle.
Yeah, I complained about it. My brother complained about it. I think my whole group complained about it because it just wasn't what we were used to. Like, we had a great experience in Phoenix and then, just access in the past. But I complained about it, and I actually ended up working out in our favor. We literally met everybody we wanted to meet. We got lucky. The lines were very long at times, but I am very happy with everybody I met. Like, I met, obviously, Adam Cole, Shayna Baszler. That was my VIP. But then I met Sami Zayn, Ricochet, Mike Bennett, Drake Maverick, Johnny Gargano, just people that I like that I've never really met before. So it all worked out. So, yeah, I don't know on WWE's part if it was a huge success, because I know a lot of people were complaining about it. But, yeah, now they're calling it meet and greet. me too. No more access, because I did see it on the Royal Rumble travel package. They're still doing it. It's like Royal Rumble meet and greet, but I think they only cut it down to 1 day.
I think they're doing like what they did at the Barclays Center, to be honest, because it said it's at the Toyota Center. So I think it's going to be the exact same as Barclays, where they do it in like a club level there, where you just wait, meet the person, and then go.
Damn, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with access, man. Like I said, in Phoenix, it was so perfect. Literally met everybody. They did the photo ops, man. Like
I think they'll bring that back for Tampa.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, because like it's the same thing too. Like how you said, you can't. Well, obviously because you can't have a WrestleMania weekend without NXT Takeover, because like NXT Takeover, like WrestleMania. I always say this. It's like Christmas for wrestling fans. Yeah. In the sense it's that one day a year you're waiting for, even though the date changes. It's not a set date, like Wrestle Kingdom. But NXT TakeOver is always like that Christmas Eve. Like you could open one present the night before, and in the last few years, the present the night before has been better than what you're getting Christmas morning. But yeah, the only difference, obviously, we know this year why TakeOver was Friday night as compared to Saturday night. But to like WrestleMania is not the same without WrestleMania access. Like, you know, you're gonna have WrestleMania access. You know, you're gonna have the Superstore where fans go in and drop. And I'm very guilty of this, dropping hundreds of dollars on merch. It's just, it's one of those things where just everything adds up. And also, too, one thing I wanted to tell you about, I don't know why, but I found out today what the name of the new LA stadium is, and it's very stupid. It's like so soft, like it's some weird company. But I noticed on there, like it was, even though it's Wikipedia, they're already campaigning to get Mania 37. So, and even in their attendances, it says up their thing for like, it said concerts, WrestleMania was listed in there. So I feel like LA really wants WrestleMania because they haven't had one in almost 20 years. And LA's it's not like New York for a lot of people was whatever. Tampa's a city too, doesn't sell itself. But I think LA has the same selling potential, even though it's not as fun as New Orleans, because there is so much to do outside of wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. I said that too. If it's, you know, Vegas and LA in the next few years, no doubt about it. Because realistically, where else could they go after this? Like, after Tampa, they're not going to do anything in Florida. So where else could they go? You know, I don't want to hear this Minneapolis, Minnesota crap that we've been hearing for so long. They're never going there. The only other place I can see is maybe Atlanta, because they have that cool stadium. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely could see LA, and like you said, it's a huge destination. Obviously, you know, Hollywood and everything there. Yeah, that would be absolutely huge.
The only other cities I could see for new ones, like, I can't see anything new because, like you're saying, I can't see them doing Florida, considering they did 24, 28, 33, and now 36. That's right. 4 WrestleManias in a 12-year period. That's one every 4 years that you're doing in the same state. Like, I understand you love Florida. Florida's a city because it's always hot. But that's the thing, too. Like, I remember 33, just like Matt, Alex, and I were sweating our asses off just waiting to get inside the stadium.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Orlando's a really hot show in more ways than one. Well, actually, yeah. But the big thing with WrestleMania, too, is Atlanta, like, would be cool. I don't know if I would go just because, like, speaking of the devil, because that's where SmackDown is right now. But but with Atlanta, they do have that cool ring above the stadium. Like, it's a cool stadium, but like Atlanta doesn't really have much else to offer besides that, even though they did have 27. Cities like Minneapolis or Indianapolis, like, I don't know why they would go there. Like, I understand they have stadiums with domes in it. It's in a different market than what you're used to, but at the same time, too, for us fans, what's the selling point of going there? Like, sure, people travel for WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania, but now I want to go for the city, too. Like,
of course, yeah.
Like, say, for example, too, Vegas, it sells itself. LA sells itself. Toronto obviously sells itself. New Orleans is another one, too. Like I said, if they ever go back to New Orleans, count me in.
Yo, tell you, instantly, in a heartbeat, no doubt. I wish I could go back every year.
Yeah. I'll be there. I haven't said this to many people, but I am back there in 2 weeks because my family and I were going down. We're going to go check out. We're seeing the Saints play the Bucks, and then awesome. I'll go on Bourbon Street and be like, where are all the wrestlers?
Yeah, let me know. Well, I'm going to obviously be in touch with you, but, like,
yeah.
I want to know how Bourbon Street is just on a random weekend like that, you know? Like, when there's no, like, big event, like, obviously Mardi Gras is huge down there, WrestleMania, I could imagine. When they had the Super Bowl down there, it was probably huge. Saints playoff games, I'm sure, or whatever. But, like, on a regular, average weekend, like, I wonder how it is. Like, there's no way it's that crazy all the time.
I don't know, because, like, I feel like, I was going to even say the Monday night, because, like, the Monday night on Bourbon Street was crazy. The first night we got there was just I don't know if you guys were planning on going, but for me and my group, we really weren't planning on going. It was like a last minute thing. We're like, yeah, let's go check it out. Why not? Which it turned into a great night, and everyone had a lot of fun.
Dude, yeah. So Jimmy, it was so funny. He did not want to go to Bourbon that night, so we actually went to the Pelicans game that night. We went back to the room. We're like, what else are we gonna do? It's early enough. We're like, let's just go to Bourbon. Screw it. And he was like, nah, I'm too tired. He's like, I'm not gonna go tonight. I'm like, all right, you're really gonna sit here by yourself or whatever? And then he's like, nah, screw it, I'll come. And he was so happy he came, and we were so happy we went out. That was like the best night. We saw all the wrestlers there. It was so sick. That night and, like you said, Monday was like the two best nights.
Yeah, because Monday for about 90% of the people, like especially that I was with, that was the last night in New Orleans. Like even though my flight left at like 6 or 7 at night, I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember we left at that time because I got back to Toronto around 10:30 after SmackDown was done because I literally opened my phone for my flight and there's Alex with a big list of texts being like, "Oh, Mello won the title. This person debuted. This happened. I was like, "Oh shit!" But no, you also gave me a great video idea. I think when I get back, I'm going to compare Bourbon Street with wrestling fans to NFL fans because even to like, oh man. I feel like Vegas wouldn't. I feel like it would have the same party feel, but it wouldn't be the same like as New Orleans because obviously it's so spread out Las Vegas. But at the same time too, it's just. Oh, I'd love to go there for a week, but I know that more than 4 days there, and you're kind of like, okay, I want to go home.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like everybody would be excited for Vegas, and I'd be excited too. I've never been there before, but I feel like I would not want to do any of the wrestling stuff. Like I feel like I would want to do everything else. And then, like you said, too, money would be a factor, too. Like, how are you going to go? For New Orleans, I went a full week. Orlando, I went a full week. I don't, I can't see myself going to Vegas for a full week. There's just no way.
Yeah, Vegas, honestly, too, because I remember hearing stories about the 2018 final because there was, like, NHL reporters there for basically a week at a time. And by the end of it, they were kind of like, get me the hell out of here. Like, with a city like Vegas, I don't want to be like that. I want to go back. Like, I was in Vegas with my girlfriend almost a year ago, and we were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we flew home Sunday.
Yeah.
With all of that, it was just one of those things where I'm like, okay, now I want to go back and do this. And even to touch on your point, I don't know if I would want to do access for that one. I'd rather spend my money and go, like, instead of getting a VIP, watch a Cirque du Soleil because, Cirque du Soleil's theirs are amazing shows, but it's something you don't always get to do. And, like, with access, too, there's only a few people left on my list to meet. Like, my top two right now is Roman Reigns and Cena. Like, I can't believe I've met so many legends. I met Taker, I've met Stone Cold. Mick Foley's probably the biggest legend on my list. I met Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. Like, I'm just looking at, like, my Mania 33 chair, and I can say, I've met Orton, I've met Rollins, I've met Taker, I've met Triple H, I've met Goldberg, I've met Bliss, I've met Dean, I've met Charlotte, I've met AJ. Like, all these different wrestlers, and I'm just like, after a while, you just realize, holy shit, how many people you've actually met on the active roster.
Yeah, same here. Me and Nick said the same exact thing. We've literally met everybody that we ever dreamed of meeting, really. I mean, besides, like, The Rock, but obviously that's, like, never probably going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, everybody who's at Access, we basically have met. So it's like, you always like to do at least one Access session on these trips. I said for Tampa, like, I was going to cut down on it, too, because I, found myself in the same scenario that I said I would never do again, which is go to 8 a.m. Access. The morning after I'm out until like 2 and 3 in the morning. It's so rough getting up that night.
I was with you guys the night before. I remember. You guys were having a good time with the Rockin' Horse.
We were having a blast, so it was worth it. Definitely worth it. So, but I said.
Hey, your connection's cutting out, so I'm just gonna take over. But I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm sorry about this. Wait.
Again, I can try and call you back if you want.
No, it's all right. We'll just keep going. Like, it's just weird. Like, it'll kind of like cut in and out. Like, I'm not editing all this. I like to leave my stuff uncensored, but or uncensored in that matter. But at the same time, too, yeah. Like, even with Tampa, I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't want to do the Saturday 1 to 5 just because I know how that's the busiest session. Like, I remember last year, I like meeting certain people because also too we spent an hour and a half in line waiting to meet Nikki and Brie. But I admit to that, even though part of me is ashamed that I did it just because I'm not their biggest fan. But it was just a name I wanted to get off the list.
Yeah, right. So you did it.
Yeah, like I'd rather do like say if I do go to Tampa because I'm still up in the air, which I'll probably know within about a month or a month and a half or so. I'll know definitely probably buy. I was about to say a big event. I'll obviously know before Survivor Series because tickets will probably go on sale before then. But I'll probably know by Halloween.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's like tickets probably go on sale like days or the next week after that usually. So
Yeah.
yeah, I said me and Nick said if there's one thing we're gonna do every single year without a doubt, or try to do at least, is WrestleMania. And I think WrestleMania in the spring and Chicago for AEW every year. I think those are the two trips I'm going to try and do every year. So that's why I'm cutting out Royal Rumbles and SummerSlam's in Boston next year. It's within driving distance. So if there's a pay-per-view within driving distance, I'll go to. But I'm not hopping on a plane for any pay-per-view besides WrestleMania and All Out. I'm going to try not to. We'll see. Or Toronto. Toronto's definitely an exception to that rule.
Yeah, like I don't know when we're gonna get our next pay per view. We obviously just had ours a month ago. As I can say this a lot because I stare at my chair. Because honestly, the SummerSlam chair was the one I'm most happy about because I've never spent the money before on a ringside ticket. Like Survivor Series, I was gifted the chair. WrestleMania chair, we got the upgrade. SummerSlam is the one the first ever chair. I bought the ringside seat and I got to, at the end of the show, pry apart the chair and then take it home. I didn't even have to show anybody my ticket. I could have walked out of there with like another chair, but like security was starting to come around and question everyone. But also too, the other thing about that night was they were not letting anyone get to the floor. Like they had a security guard at every single floor entrance from the 100 level, and made all of us exit through the what we call the Platinum Club, which is the level underneath the stands. It's like basically a very fancy club where a lot of the people, if you ever watch a Leafs game, you'll see a lot of people in suits down by the front rows and stuff. It's where they hang out pre-game, post-game, and during the game because they honestly don't care about hockey and they're there for business.
Right, and so
yeah, but I just want to point that out. But with me too, I'm the same boat too. Like I'll only go to a show like for example, obviously Toronto, Buffalo, Montreal, Detroit for like if it's a pay-per-view. And then I want to do AEW. I want to try to do AEW next year in Chicago just because I love Chicago and I want to check. I will admit I am not the biggest AEW fan in the world. Like you, Nick, Ryan Falcone, Ravi, Justin, all the guys who were in Chicago for AEW or who went to Vegas for Double or Nothing. But I do want to get into the product because it honestly looks like a great product. I haven't had time, but I do want to check out the. Was it a ladder match or was it a TLC match?
You're cutting in very.
Okay, so
very bad right now.
We're both cutting in and out. So basically, yeah, the podcast is mainly hearing me. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're good. Yeah, it just cut out when you said. I heard you talk about Ryan Falcone.
Oh yes. Basically, I'm basically saying that I'm not a big AEW fan as like all you guys are. I basically just listed off his name, Ravi, Justin, because like those three guys especially went to Double or Nothing, and All Out. I'm not a big fan like you guys are right now, but I do want to get into the product. I do want to start following it. Just because, honestly, like we said, there's no reason for war. I just want to treat it as another outlet of wrestling for us to watch on a weekly basis. But I was... Oh, sorry to cut you off, but to add to the point of that, like I would like to go to Chicago next year as well for that, but if 37's in LA or Vegas, I'm literally going to put all my money towards that. Instead of doing both. Just because I don't know where I'll be next year. Like, oh, well, they're in San Francisco next week for SmackDown. But, I get sidetracked a lot. But, yeah, no, I don't, because I know if I take the money out for Chicago, or if I can budget Chicago in, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Still have a year to go.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll know before this year's wrestling years is, too. So you'll have time to make a decision. Yeah, I mean, Chicago is always a blast, so it would be awesome to have you come next year. We had fun with, like, Ravi and Ryan and everybody, and it was just such a fun time. And like you said earlier in the beginning of this, it's about the friendships and the fun times you have with everybody.
Yeah, and even, too, like, with Toronto, a lot of them, like, for example, like, I know you guys didn't record that much. I didn't record as much as I thought I was going to. But at the same time, too, it was just about, like, us hanging out and everything. Like, how, like, when we met you guys, I met up with you at the ferry terminal, and we went back to your hotel, and then we went out for dinner, then the wrestling show, then the porch. Just, like, stuff like that, too, just adds to the wrestling trip, where it's not always At first, it was about the wrestling, like, when you, like, don't know a whole lot of people. Like, I remember that was TJ and I were going to SummerSlam 14. But then, for me, ever since I went to Mania 32 in Dallas, it's just about hanging out with everybody. Guys you get to see only once every so often. Because, like, I saw you in Orlando and then New Orleans, but then I didn't see you for
a whole, like,
about a year and a half.
Yeah. Well, that's why Toronto was the best trip me and Nick have ever done. It's because... definitely not because of the wrestling shows, because I didn't think SummerSlam was that good. So it was definitely not memorable in the way of like SummerSlam, but it was memorable because of, you know, we hung out all weekend long. We did so much. We went out to eat together. We went out drinking together. We did everything. Like hanging out with you guys. Yeah, like that's what made it the best trip. Definitely not the shows. I definitely don't base my trips off of how good the shows are, because you just really can't. It's like secondary at this point. Like NXT was great, Raw I enjoyed. SummerSlam, it could have been better in my opinion, but it was still the best trip I've ever been on despite that. So yeah, it's totally about hanging out and, you know, chilling with everybody. It's great.
Yeah, like with me with SummerSlam, I like the show better than you, obviously. Not to like say anything bad about like where people were sitting or anything, but just because I know you guys were in the upper bowl. Meanwhile, TJ and I were like right there ringside, so like we both just
you're not gonna enjoy it from there, you know?
Yeah, sitting basically 4 rows back behind fucking Mike Roman, Greg Hamilton the entire show, and like seeing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, if I had those seats for Backlash 2018, probably the worst pay-per-view I've ever seen in like the past 10 years. If I had seats like that, I would probably still find a way to enjoy that show. Like that's, you know, those seats make everything that much better. So
yeah, and like also just about making it at the moment. Like even I remember like how you're saying the wrestling doesn't make or break the trip. I remember 34. We were all outside the Superdome after the show, being like, you know what, it wasn't the best show, but at the same time, I was like, you know what, this trip cost me a lot of money. I'm not going to complain. I'm here having a good time. Let's like go out and make the most of it. Like you can't like if you're going to base a trip off of something you only did for a few hours, for one day. It's like, say, for example, I know Mr. Lucky over here, you get to go to Florida every so often, but say if you and Allie go to Disneyland for a week. Right. There's one day where the weather's absolutely horrible and there's nothing for you two to do. Are you going to base the trip off of that one bad day, or are you going to base it off 6 days you two had together?
Perfect example. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up WrestleMania 34 too, because we were just talking about Bourbon Street, and like, yeah, that WrestleMania definitely could have been better. I thought it was good for the beginning portion, and then it kind of went downhill towards the end. But yeah, did a complete, you know, turnaround from the beginning, went downhill. But did I care? Did I walk out of there unhappy? Hell no. I walked my ass right to Bourbon Street, although it wasn't that much fun, because I think, you know, the whole 6-hour Mania just wore everybody out, and, you know, we were out all day, that whole entire day and that whole entire morning, because we went to Access that day too. I think that just wore us out. You know, we hyped up Bourbon Street after Mania, because back after WrestleMania 30, it was crazy after Daniel Bryan won. But you know, with Brock winning, it sucked the air out of the crowd, and I think everybody was kind of just deflated. They just didn't want to do anything. They weren't in a good mood. So Bourbon really was not a fun time that night. But still, yeah, perfect example. Like, you can't base a trip out of 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever, however long the show is, for one show, when everything else was just perfect. And that NXT show in New Orleans still ranks on my list as one of the best shows I have ever seen.
For me, for takeovers, it's that and Brooklyn 1 will probably always be my favorite takeovers that I've attended.
Brooklyn 1, yeah, that will always, not to sound weird, but that'll always hold a special place in my heart, man. That was such a fun night. That was the first one ever, and God, that was amazing.
Part of me, I'll always admit this. Anytime I think of the show or one particular match in that show, because that show made me a fan. I always followed NXT, but I never really watched it. That show made me a fan of NXT, and that Sasha Bayley match is probably still up there in one of my favorite matches I've witnessed live. Up there too with Triple H and Undertaker at 28.
Yeah, you're lucky you saw that match. Yeah, no, that's. I don't think I'll ever see a better women's match live than that ever. I mean, the emotion, the crowd, it had everything. The story behind it was perfect. It was so hyped up. I mean, dude, it was amazing. Was
Charlotte and Becky last woman standing similar vibe to Sasha Bayley in the sense of like not how good I know, because that match was really good, but not obviously in the sense of the overall emotion or anything, but I was going to say the crowd for that match, just because Evolution was one of those shows where not a lot of people had big expectations going because they didn't know what to expect, and also too because it was kind of shoved down our throats. But it ended up being one of the better pay-per-views of 2018, so I just wanted to get that from someone who was in the building.
Yeah, it's definitely hot for that, and that was another really good match, but it just wasn't as special as that Sasha and Bayley match. Like, the vibe was a lot different. It was a different crowd too. Like, NXT crowd's more hardcore fan base, I feel like. And that night in Brooklyn, that for Takeover 1, that was the most insane crowd. One of the most insane crowds I've ever been a part of, because they were just hot all night. Just very different vibe. But yeah, that Becky Charlotte was definitely another good one. But nothing compares to Sasha and Bayley. I don't think anything ever will, to be honest.
Yeah, and before people get on my back, I'm not trying to compare Evolution to a show that was as good as Brooklyn 1. I was just trying to get a vibe on what the crowd was like one show versus the other. That's all. Just because you know how wrestling fans can get.
Yeah, take one thing and completely turn it around.
Yeah, like tonight I tweeted out before this saying, at first, doing Brock and Kofi on the SmackDown on Fox premiere kind of made no sense to me, considering they had a pay-per-view 2 days later. Why not do it there? But then the more I thought about it, you know what? It will draw people in. It'll also, too, with Brock probably winning, it'll give the people a face that they can advertise off of, being like, oh, hey, look, we know Brock Lesnar, maybe we'll give this a watch. And he'll probably hold the title up till Mania and then lose to somebody.
Yeah, although I wish they kept the Money in the Bank briefcase on Brock. It would have made a lot more sense if they kept that briefcase on him and he just, like, unexpectedly came in tonight, told him he was going to cash in on October 4th, or even just, like, don't announce a match and just have Kofi out there and have Brock just cash in on him at the end. I said that from the get-go when he won the Money in the Bank. I thought that was what they were going to do, and they rushed it, and, it was kind of another waste of a briefcase, but that's a whole nother discussion for another time. But, yeah, I know we all know why they're doing it. It's the debut on Fox. They want to have something big happen, and, Brock's going to be the champion once again.
Yeah, and the one thing I noticed, too, I got to wonder, with the move to Fox, do you think I gotta wonder if they're gonna change the setup at all, or if they're gonna do any big changes, or is it just probably gonna be graphics and a new TV network? And because they usually change the setup every, I think, 3 or 4 years.
I think they will. Yeah, I think they'll change the setup. I think they'll get a new theme song, new graphics. Obviously, they have a new logo, new everything. Yeah, because it's a new change and a new look and. I don't think you could just keep going with the look they have now. I mean, not that I don't like it, but I always like change, especially when it comes to WWE. So I remember when they did change it to these sets that they have now, I was so happy because it was so refreshing. But yeah, it's time for something different. Yeah. I definitely think they will.
I kind of wish they had kept the sets that they did from the before SummerSlam 2016. Mm-hmm. I really like those sets because I was also lucky enough to go to the first ever SmackDown Live. And, I just remember walking in, the set, it just looked so big, and also seeing the blue ropes, too, was pretty cool. But, yeah, we just got to wait and see. Only 2.5 more weeks until they move to Fox, which I'm still trying to figure out what they're doing for NXT, if it's going to air live or if I'm going to have to wait a day. But I know with SmackDown will be airing live Friday nights here in Canada, and the next domino to fall for that is AEW once hopefully that gets announced sooner than later.
Tweeting about something for Canada and some news about the TV and about
I guess it's just a wait and see thing. They have 2 weeks. It's just the only thing I worry about with AEW in Canada for that first show is it's going up against, I'm not going to say NXT, but the opening night for the NHL, which up here is a big deal because you do have Toronto playing Ottawa, which I know it's Toronto, Ottawa, just a couple of markets. But because of the reach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I just feel like more people are going to be wrestling fans who aren't exactly that hardcore, the kind of like me, be more tempted to tune in. For me, especially if it's not on TV, I'll be more inclined to watch hockey over wrestling that night. But that's all. I just wanted to get that point out there. But also, too, for them to go Wednesdays is smart, just because you don't want to compete with either the NBA, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays mainly on TNT, and also, too, football Thursday nights. Nobody wants to go up against the NFL.
Yeah, no, and especially not Tony Khan, a guy who works for the NFL. He works for the Jaguars. So he said numerous times he doesn't want to go up against the NFL. So Wednesday night's perfect. We'll have Tuesdays and Thursdays will be free of no wrestling. I don't know why Impact doesn't go to like Tuesday night or Thursday night or something like that. But yeah, I think Wednesday night works, and yeah, I mean, isn't that the first like Maple Leafs game of the season on that night or whatever? That's the first week hockey begins. I know. I'll be at the Islander game that night. That SmackDown goes to Fox on that Friday night because the Islanders home opener. I'll be there. So yeah, that's obviously way more important priorities, man.
Exactly. Like, I'm not gonna go like I do want to start watching SmackDown more on Friday nights just to see what they do with Fox. But like, if it's gonna be the same shit, even though it's on a different network, I think you're gonna slow down. But they gotta come out hot, especially with the fact you're gonna have WrestleMania season. I say this every year that because you probably have heard of this Mania Fever.
Yeah.
Where everyone who didn't go to WrestleMania 35, I'm not saying I got this year, but a lot of people will get it where they'll watch WrestleMania at home and they're like, shit, we got to go next year, all this stuff, go, go, go. And then it dies down, and then before you know it, you're saying to yourself, like I'm saying right now, shit, WrestleMania tickets go on sale in like 2 months. Like, and then before you know it, you're boarding a flight to go to Tampa.
And then before you know it, you're boarding the flight to come back home and it's over.
I know. I always, whenever I book those trips, book the flight home, it's like always two. You have the date booked in, but then at the same time, too, you have the date where me for this year for SummerSlam wasn't that bad. It was more like what I tweeted saying that the hardest part about leaving a wrestling trip for me was more about saying the goodbyes and everything. I guess saying the goodbyes on Front Street outside of that subway. But with Mania, it's when you go back to the airport when you're kind of like, shit, I'm going back to reality. I got to go back to work and all this stuff. Like, I feel like with SummerSlam being here, it was easier for me to settle into that after. After just being like, okay, yeah, I go back to work tomorrow, no big deal.
Yeah, but it's still a depressing feeling whether you're going home or going, it's in your hometown and you're going back to work. It just sucks, man. Like, especially if you don't enjoy your job or you don't enjoy, like these trips, like, are like an escape, man. They're like a getaway. It's just like you look forward to it. Like, I always need something to look forward to all the time. So, like, for me, these trips, these events, it's always something I look forward to, and I know, like, all right, life, like, just say in February when it's like a blizzard here and it's snowing outside and I'm like, it's terrible weather or whatever, I'm sitting inside, I'm bored, I'm like, you know what, hey, whatever, a couple months I'll be in Tampa for Mania and it'll all be worth it. So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. You put it perfectly. How, like, I always remember, like, when you book it, even to, there's always that thrill of getting tickets. I remember, like, 28 for me was a Christmas gift. I was lucky enough. But 32, I remember I bought the tickets at work. I had to go into the bathroom, and I was just like, holy fuck, I'm going to WrestleMania. Like, it was because, like, I always say this, like, 10 years ago, if you had told me by now I'd own 3 pay-per-view chairs, even though I know that's a small number, but for me, still, it's a big deal considering they're harder for me to get because they don't come to Canada all that often. And that I do this, I would have finished the Big Four. I sat ringside for WrestleMania, which is a bucket list. That was always a bucket list item for me. Like, sometimes I look back and think about how lucky we are. Just, like, even, like, for a lot of people who are WWE fans, like, not a lot of them have a lot of money, but for us that are able to go on these trips, it's also a blessing.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I don't take it for granted at all, man. I mean, I'm 24. I've only been watching wrestling since 2008. So I've accomplished almost everything that I could have ever dreamed of accomplishing as a fan. Yeah, when I went to WrestleMania 29, I was in high school still. It was my senior year, and it was here in New York, New Jersey at MetLife, and I was so excited. I was like, wow, WrestleMania will be my first and probably my only one, and I took it in, man. I enjoyed the experience. The show was terrible, though. I was kind of upset about that, and then here I am. I'm going to be going to, like, my 5th Mania in Tampa. To me, it's kind of just like another, like, WrestleMania. Like, I don't even get that feeling of, like, oh my god, I'm going to WrestleMania, oh my god, I'm going to get, like, the day of I do, but not, like, when I buy tickets, like, months in advance, like, when I buy it in 2 months, it's not going to really fully sink in that, like, oh my god, like, I'm not going to be jumping around my house and running around the block, like, oh my god, I'm going to WrestleMania, because for me, it's just like, it's just like another year of going to Mania. Like, it's kind of become a usual thing for me, and it's kind of weird to say, and I don't want to sound like, I'm being cocky or, like, arrogant or, like, bragging, but it's just kind of, like, crazy how it happened.
Yeah, like, me too. I remember Dallas, I got that holy shit feeling because that was my first one in 4 years. With Orlando was travel package for me, and then 34 was the single tickets. I remember it was more about just having the stress dealt with of, okay, tickets are bought. But then, like, yeah, you're right. The day of, I remember with Orlando, it was just the morning you wake up and you realize. But with New Orleans, it didn't really kick in until we started walking to the Superdome when you're kind of like there. But I think I told Nick this or you this in Toronto, but it's that feeling when you give the ticket to the taker and they scan it and you hear that little bell or that little doo-doo-doo-doo like sound.
Yep.
Then you're like, that's when it really sinks in and you're like, fuck, I'm here.
You walk in, you see the set for the first time. It's just like, it's an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah, like that's one thing that even though the set pictures get leaked, I do my best when I'm going to a Mania. I don't want to see it until I'm there because there's honestly, even to like if you go to a TV show for the first time, I remember going with someone, my buddy Lucas, who went to NXT Takeover's his first ever WWE television show. Mm-hmm. Just seeing his face, seeing like the set and everything, I'm like, I understand that, like, yeah, it's his first show, but like that for Mania is just a whole nother experience because you walk in and you realize the enormity of the event. Yeah,
exactly.
Which you can venture for this because I just realized out of your 4 Manias, only one's been indoors. Same. Mine's half. I have 2 indoors, but indoors it's just has much bigger feel to me than when it's outside.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like the fact that it's outside. I think the vibe, I think it's cool that it's outside. But yeah, I mean, after going to New Orleans and it being inside, like, you don't have to ever worry about weather and, like, you know, the lights aren't a big factor either indoors. You know, I had a lot of problems with the lights this year at Mania outside. Also, too, those pillars that they have, like those poles that hold up the canopy at the top over the ring when it's outside, that could be a factor and be in the way of people's views. So there's a lot of factors that make indoor Manias a lot better. But yeah, only got that experience once in New Orleans.
It is what it is. I just wanted to bring that up. But, oh, man. But no, we'll see what happens for this year's and stuff. Hopefully they go a little bit out more with the set. Weirdly enough, the 2 Manias that you mentioned, 29 and 35, I was actually right where you see me right now on this couch in my basement. That's where I watched those 2 Manias from. 29 I actually watched by it was just me here one night. I ordered the pay-per-view, I had dinner, and I watched the show, and then 35, I had the guys here with me. Yeah, but
nobody wanted to do New York. I don't blame you.
With me, too, is also, I had my cousin's bachelor party to go to that weekend, so once that got announced, because the plans for that got announced shortly before tickets went on sale, I knew that was my final nail in the coffin for me not going. But also, too, like, that was a big thing about me, even, too, with 36. I don't have a lot of gained interest. I don't have a lot of gained interest from here as well. For people going, like, I don't think Ravi or Justin are going. I think they're going to travel more for AEW now because I think they're more focused on those shows. Like, I think Justin will only go to... I remember him saying he'll only go to TV here in Toronto if it is a pay-per-view.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then Hassan I know Hassan, I think, has zero interest, and then I don't think... Same with TJ. I don't think they have any interest in going to Mania, but like I say, WWE is that... It's that girlfriend you say you're done with, but you always find a way back to. They announced me. I know everyone was going crazy when 34 got announced in New Orleans in 2017 because I remember hearing the reports of, oh, yeah, I think it was Meltzer's basically saying, yeah, they're probably going back. And then a week later, they're going back. And everyone was just like, I'm in. They announced Vegas. They announced LA for 37. You're probably going to be seeing a lot more of those people who are kind of like, I don't have interest in going. I'm just watching from home. They're going to get, that's hook, line, and sinker for them going back. That's why I made that girlfriend metaphor, because you say, oh, I'm done with WWE. I don't want to watch it anymore, like how I told you and how I told the world that I didn't watch Clash of Champions on Sunday. But here I am talking to you right now on Skype for the podcast, and I'm watching 205 Live in the background because there's like nothing else on, and the Jays suck.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I think Ravi, and I don't know about Justin or anybody else, but I know Ravi's been to quite a few Manias, probably way more than me. So I guess maybe you get to that point where it's like he's had enough. So I can understand it from that aspect. Where, like, for me, well, this will be my 5th. You'd think like that's a lot to like be good with, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't think I could ever give up Mania, man. It's just like an unbelievable like experience all the time, every single year. No matter how bad the product is, Mania will deliver. And even if it's not the best Mania in the world, like 34, like just the experience of being there is just good enough for me. So I don't know. I don't think I could ever give it up, no matter how bad the product is at the time. There's definitely times where I'm not interested in it, but yeah, like you said, like if there's nothing else on, like, what are you going to watch? Like, I'm not just going to purposely not watch Raw on a Monday night when there's nothing else on TV, just say. I know there is football now, but probably a bad example, yeah. But, or Tuesday night, like tonight, like, nothing else is on, no other games, so it's kind of like, what else are you going to watch?
Yeah, like with me with Monday nights, I actually, because as many of you know that I've started, and you know too, that I kind of do some goalie content with YouTube and stuff. I haven't done a whole lot, but I've shown off my gear and a couple of sticks. But I do play Monday nights now, so I probably won't be watching Raw that much. Like, the only Raw I'll watch is if I go, like, if I'll miss a game to go to a Raw if they do come to Toronto in the next, say, 6 months. But, like, that was me, I will admit. Last Monday, I only watched Raw for the Stone Cold segment, and then apart from that, I was watching the Texans-Saints game, which was a phenomenal football game.
So good.
Yeah, which I'll have to have you back, because I thought about talking football today, but you and I are supposed to be at wit's ends this week for football. If people don't know what our allegiances is by now, Ryan's a Jets fan, I'm a Patriots fan. I am happy about the game, though, because I like to look up who the referee is and who the play-by-play and color guys are, and I was pretty happy. It's Carl Cheffers reffing the game, who I believe did Super Bowl 51, and then Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon, who Kevin Harlan's one of my favorite play-by-play guys out there who are going to be calling the game. So that's the thing, too, with even we admit with wrestling and the same thing with sports. It's not always about what's in the ring. It's also to how the play-by-play and color guy take their words to just basically add to the game.
Yeah, totally. And especially in football, it means a lot, with the officiating and stuff. Dude, I am not looking forward to Sunday, man. That is going to be a murder on live TV. It's just going to be like, I mean, God, would you put up 43 points against the Dolphins? You're going to probably put up like 60 against the Jets. Like, it's going to be embarrassing. And this season just could not be going any worse for me right now. Like my season's done. Like, it's September 17th, 18th, and the season's over for me. Like, that's it. Week 2, like, it's done. The Jets are not going anywhere. No matter, even if when Sam Darnold comes back from this mono, they're going to be like 0-6, 0-7 at that point. So it's like, he might as well just sit out the rest of the year.
Well, I just want to, like, even though it's a Patriots schedule, too, and and honestly, this is going to sound bad, but I don't have to stress about the Patriots really until week 8 when we play Cleveland, because, like, they really made it's weird. They made the Patriots schedule super easy. Like, after the Jets, we have the Bills, the Redskins, the Giants, the Jets on Monday Night Football, and then the Browns, and then it gets tough because we have Browns, Ravens, Eagles, Cowboys, Texans, and Chiefs.
Yeah, well, you want to know what the Jets have now? They're already 0-2. They got the Patriots, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Patriots again. That's 0-6, no doubt. That's just complete. And there's a bye week in there, too. So that's completely 0-6. And then they got the Jaguars and the Dolphins. But I'm not even so sure they can even beat the Dolphins at this point.
Jaguars, I think you'll beat Miami. You'll probably beat the Giants. The Redskins, I don't know. Raiders, we'll see. You'll probably beat the Bengals. You'll beat the Dolphins again. Well, you got the primetime game.
Even when the Dolphins are, like, even when the Jets are good, like, they still have problems with the Dolphins. So they'll probably lose one of those Dolphin games.
Yeah. The other thing, too, with your team is I think you guys made a it's not the team. It's also, too, I don't think you guys made the best coaching hire. I always questioned Gase's. Like, I remember watching Week 17 last year when they were it was Dan Fouts and Ian Eagle who called the Patriots-Dolphins game this past week. I remember they kept going on about Todd Bowles getting fired and stuff, and I'm watching with my dad being like, yeah, they're in the second quarter right now. He hasn't been fired yet. But that's the thing, too. I don't know what if you guys have a bad season, the Gates experiment I don't think can last. I think you guys should go out there and grab a good coach because the Jets are building the right pieces on defense. It's just offensively. Like, you guys, I'll straight up admit Jamal Adams is one of the best defensive backs in the league right now. Leonard Williams and Quinnen Williams. I haven't seen Quinnen Williams play in the NFL yet. I'll see him on Sunday. But from what I saw at Alabama, the kid can ball. Leonard Williams, too, is good. It's just one of those things where if you guys can work on offense, get an offensive line, which we now know you do need to win in the NFL. I know it sounds stupid, but you can clearly tell all the good teams have great offensive lines.
Yeah, the Jets don't have that. Sam Darnold, week 1, had no time to throw the ball. Yesterday, in for the couple of minutes, couple of drives, one quarter that he played, didn't have any time to throw the ball. It's just, you can't win without a line like that. Your quarterback will constantly be under pressure. I know Brady's not good when he's under pressure, too. That's the one thing about Brady. He can sit in the pocket all day long. The offensive line's usually always good. but when he's under pressure, you can see, he goes downhill. So, yeah, you definitely need a good offensive line. The defense played good last night on Monday night, I thought, for the most part. I mean, they really aren't at fault. They were on the field way too much. The offense just kept going 3 and out every single time. Injuries are a big reason why the Jets season's over right now, obviously. But, yeah, they're going in the right direction. But just when you think they're going in the right direction, they make this, stupid move that turns them completely around, and that was the Gase move. I was totally on board with Mike McCarthy. They didn't go that direction. They think Gase is this quarterback whisperer. Peyton Manning loves him. It's just, dude, it's terrible, man. It's the life I live as a Jets fan, a Mets fan, an Islanders fan. It's just the worst look every single season.
Well, Mets, at least they made the World Series last year, but
they didn't even win.
It's better than the last time we had two ALCS championships and no World Series appearances, losing to Cleveland and Kansas City. But with the Mets, right now, honestly, 2019 probably the one season I barely followed baseball. I usually go to quite a few baseball games a year. I only went to 3 this year, and one of them was because I won free tickets to work. But with the Mets, though, I feel like it's a roller coaster ride. It feels like your team's good, and then they go bad, and then they're good, and then they get Marcus Stroman, and then they're in it for right now. But we'll see how the NL wild card plays out. As long as the other team on the other side of New York doesn't win, I'll be happy.
Same with here, man. Same here. I'm glad that the Mets, their season was over back in June, and the fact that they jumped right back into it and they're playing meaningful baseball in September just makes me happy. Even though I think the season's over, there's no way they're catching the Cubs with the wild card now.
Are you watching 205 Live right now or no?
No, I have the Mets game on.
Okay, because there's this. I just watched it because whatever. I'm probably gonna turn it off. But there's this one guy that replaced Nigel in commentary. Some guy with dreadlocks. I had no idea who it is. D.L. Madden or something like that.
I think I see a picture of that online last week too. I don't know who that is either.
It's some black guy with dreadlocks. I was just like, who are you?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't watch 205 Live. I mean, if there's something good going on, I'll turn it on. But man, no disrespect to any of them either. I just can't. I can't get into the cruiserweights when the WWE doesn't even care about them.
Yeah.
Except the direction.
That was probably the worst part of the wrestling for SummerSlam weekend was 205 Live, which after the show we met up with TJ and I met up with Brady, and he called it 205 Leave.
Yeah. Sadly, it's true.
Yeah.
But hey, if the rumors are true that it's going to be integrated into NXT in the future, I think that's a great idea. Give NXT another championship, more talent, and it'll benefit those guys, because I'd hate to see 205 Live go away and all those cruiserweights just basically get screwed, and then they get released eventually. I don't want to see that happen. So they'd be a nice addition to NXT. It would be perfect.
Exactly. And who are the Mets playing right now, by the way?
Colorado. They're actually winning 4-0. So.
In Colorado or in New York?
Yeah, in Colorado. Stroman's pitching.
It's weird that you guys are there this late in the season, but I don't make the schedule.
Yeah. I hate when the Mets come to Colorado. It's always like a home run derby.
Jesus Christ, there's nobody.
Colorado loves this ballpark so much, man. It's unbelievable how many home runs get hit here every single game.
Hey, and the Jays are winning 7-4, but do you want to know who we're playing?
Who?
The Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there's literally nobody in Camden Yards right now. I'm watching this, and they're doing Oztoberfest September 20th at Camden Yards. So if you're listening to this in the Baltimore area, yeah. And also, too, I see this thing. This is probably how desperate they are for attendance because their team is just horrendous. Kids cheer free every home game. Does that mean kids getting a free to Orioles games?
Maybe. Cheer for free.
Yeah.
That's bad though. If they let people in for free, they need all the money that they can get. Are you kidding?
Yeah. The Jays this year really struggled with attendance, but at least Baltimore's got no direction. That's why I'm confident in the Jays over the next few years, because we're starting to build the blocks and the right pieces to.
Oh yeah, you got Bo Bichette, freaking Vlad. You guys are heading in the right direction, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to be picking up a Vlad or a Bo jersey soon. Those are a couple of guys I like. Bichette's helped me. I'm actually in a fantasy baseball semifinal right now, and I've never done fantasy baseball before. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to take the mic from here. Ryan, it was great having you on the podcast and everything.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. It's great. great talking to you. And had a fun time.
And thank you very much, guys, for listening. For Main Mark Mirth, that's me. For Ryan, myself, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys either in the next video or podcast, whatever I feel like doing. Bye, guys.